the video.
Alright guys, part 2, here we go. Now, so fix this in your mind, but in particular remember these cardinal points, okay? These are the cardinal signs: Aries, Cancer, Libra and Capricorn. Now, I've done this in red. Why? Because... Hey, where are the other guys? Oh, I wanted them to see this. I wanted them to see the red bit, what it means. It's a reason why I've done this in green and that in red, okay?
What was it?
No, that's alright, don't worry about the noise. Howdy catties. Alright, we're going to start, well we just started actually. But I'm about to rub this off, but I really want you to focus on this, okay? This is the sun in its glory, and there's the signs that indicate its glory, Leo, like I read in the poems, okay? And everything is green. Now, around about September, every year in the Northern Hemisphere, the leaves start to turn red. That's because the sun is growing through the Red Sea. This is the colour of the 6 bad seasons, and green is the colour of the good seasons. This is the paradise, this is Tartarus. This is the heavenly Jerusalem, all the good things, the paradise, the Garden of Eden. This is outside of the Garden of Eden. This is the downside of the season. Now, these are doorways. These have always been considered doorways. Okay? This doorway opens. Remember, the Jewish sacred year starts on this day. This is also called the Red Sea, okay? As I said to you, and it's also called Egypt. This is the Promised Land, this is Egypt. If I... that sounds a bit loud, doesn't it?
Very.
That's not good. If I do what I said I was going to do before, and bring these signs around, I'm going to bring Libra over to here, because we're going to discard with this linear graph. I'm going to make this a circle. Of course, as I said, we've got Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius and Pisces over here. This is the start of the Jewish religious calendar, okay? And they call it Nisan. Nisan. And that's why the Lord said to the Israelites, on the day of you coming up out of Egypt, this is Egypt, below the equator is Egypt, and that's the Promised Land flowing with milk and honey. Why? Because that's the Milky Way there, going through Taurus and Gemini, and through Scorpio and Sagittarius. That's the milk. And here, in Cancer, there's an asterism called the beehive. That's the honey. This is the land flowing with milk and honey, because those signs tell you that's where the milk is and that's where the honey is. This is Egypt. On the day that you come up out of Egypt, you will eat the Passover lamb, because the sun has passed over. This is glorious. When the sun passes over, and the Lord said, and you shall make that the first month on the day of you coming up out of Egypt. And of course, you have to go through the Red Sea to get into the Promised Land, and that's what that's talking about there. Okay? Now, this also applies to the Garden of Eden. This is the Garden of Eden, and the Lord planted in the east the tree of life. This is the tree of life, the equinox. The equinox. These are the solstices. Let me show you what that means. Solstice in Latin, stitio means to stand still. That's the word for the sun. The sun as it goes around. Sol, stand still. Why does the sun stand still at these points? This is why. If you look due east or due west on any horizon, let's make it, let's go west, sunset. We're watching the sunset. This is perfectly, that's the point of perfect west. The sun does this every year, 47 degrees from here to here. Summer, autumn, winter, spring. Summer, autumn, winter, spring. So you have summer over here, you have winter over here, and there's 47 degrees, because they've got 23.5 degrees this way, 23.5 degrees that way, it makes 47. So, when the sun gets to this point, you'll notice the sun sets over here in summer, then 3 months later it sets over here in autumn, 3 months later it sets over there. And I watch this from my house. I've got a good view. There's a house that blocks this 6 months of the season for me, but I live on a sort of a hill, and I can see all of this 6 months, and I can watch the sun. Every day I can watch the sun moving along the horizon. It moves 1 degree every 8 days. And you can notice it because this is a vast distance on the horizon. You can actually notice the movement. It's like when you're watching the minute hand, you can see it, you can see it moving, right? But you've got to pay attention and you'll see this movement. But when the sun gets to the solstices, it stands still for 3 days. So on the 21st of December, the sun, where the sun dies, the shortest day of the year, you have to wait 3 days till the 25th of December before it heads off the other way, and it trudges off the other way, and then it stops here at the other solstice, stands still over here, and so these are the 2 solstice points. The sun stops, dies for 3 days, and then is born again. That's the birthday of the sun, right? Pay attention to that. We're going to wipe all this off, and we're going to go into the real stuff and put in all the details, and you will see. With this, you will see how that little sine wave explains everything. Now, by the way, let me show you what that little sine wave can do. Remember, we had a line like that. Is this getting... I think this is time for a new texter here, and I brought some extras, because I knew this might happen. Where's my little extra texter? Oh, they're in the car. That's okay. Here's my sine wave. Remember the sine wave, and then I brought it back around into itself. Well, that sine wave is none other than the swastika. It's none other than if you've got the solstices marked there and the equinoxes marked there, that's the Holy Cross. Have you ever seen that cross with Jesus on the middle of it, and he's on the cross? Well, usually the cross has those proportions, and we saw those Fibonacci proportions, but when you see a cross like this, that line there is equal length because it's talking about the equators, the tree of life and the tree of... Remember, by the way, I didn't finish that. I need to finish that. Remember, go back to my circle, and we had the Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, and we went like this, and this was red and this was the top bit, and I said that was the tree of life, and the Lord planted a tree of life in the east. This is the east, and he also planted in the Garden of Eden the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This is evil, this is good. When you taste from this tree, and by the way, the Virgo was there, the Virgin Eve, and the scales were here in Libra, and here was the serpent, Scorpio. So the scorpion always seduces the woman to eat of the tree, and inside the scales of Libra is a man. There's a man holding the scales, right? That's Adam. So the Eve gets seduced to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This is the tree of life, and it is... because it opens, it's the doorway to the life part of the cycle. This is the life cycle, this is the death cycle. And remember that the Bible says that the Lord planted a cherub in the east so that Adam and Eve couldn't go and eat of the tree of everlasting life. Everlasting because it's an everlasting cycle. Well, he planted a cherub with a sword. Well, here's Aries, here's Taurus. In Taurus, there's a constellation called Orion, and Orion is holding a sword. The star in Orion's hand is called Saif in Arabic, and it means sword. That's the cherub that is guarding the tree of life so that they don't partake of it. But when you look at this cross, remember our little sine wave, which resembles the swastika. Well, this is equal, always, the equinoxes. And this is short and this is long. Well, this represents the short. If you put a if you put a sundial in there, notice the shadow of my texter, if you put a sundial in there, you'll always get a short shadow for summer and a long shadow for winter. And as I told you before, this sine wave explains everything. It explains that. Because there was the cross, there's the summer solstice, there's the winter solstice, summer and winter, long shadow, short shadow, and equinox. And what else is that sine wave, if not describes the letter 8, the symbol of eternity? S for serpent, the serpent that's on the tree, because this is the serpent. The electric and the magnetic pulse, positive and negative, of the way everything manifests in this universe. Everything goes on, off, positive, magnetic, positive, negative, or electric or magnetic. Goes from one to the other. Everything's a vibration. And this teaches you how that vibration works in 12 different parts. And that's when we get into the astrological unit of this, will explain all that. The letter S, the serpent that's hot, always dangling on the tree. Have you seen that sign? The serpent. What about the caduceus? We've got the medical symbol. How does that go? And then it's got wings. It's got the wings here of
the staff of Apollo.
Yeah, the staff. The Mercury's is always holding the caduceus. There it is there. What else can it be? Just about covers every religious symbol. Every religious symbol. You've seen this one before, haven't you?
Yin and yang.
There's my sine wave. You just read my mind. That's what it's talking about. It's talking about this sine wave. The sine wave does everything. It does everything. And it's going to explain to you pretty much every single verse in the Bible. I'm going to go through about 20 or 30 of the choicest scriptures that you've ever been grown up on, and I'm going to show you that they live inside this circle. They live inside this holy science, because holy is the sun. And what the sun does, we imitate. That's why the Bible says you must follow the sun. I know this might sound rather blasphemous to people who've been educated in a different way, but I'll prove and substantiate all these things. Okay, so let's go back to our circle, and remember that's the Tropic of Cancer, and there's the Tropic of Capricorn down there, okay? So there's the equator again, there's the solstices. Okay, so let's just go straight into it. This is where the fun starts, believe me, guys. March 21st, September 21st, June 21st, December 21st. Okay? Might as well keep these lids off. So let's just quickly go through this. I'm going to try and get a template for this, so I don't have to do this all the time. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Libra, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sag, Cap, Aquarius, Pisces. So March, so you're looking at March obviously, March must begin around here, right? And finish it about there. So after 10 days of Aries, you've got April. You've got April Aries. So each sign always has 2 months in it. But see, April will go to there. So, and of course, Taurus begins on the, say, the 20. I think it's the 21st of April. It's always the 21st. Actually, I've simplified it. I think that might be the 22nd. Sometimes they say it's the 22nd. I'm keeping things simple, remember? Not too simple though. Okay? But simple enough. Don't be pedantic and say, oh, that's wrong, that's not the equinox, it's 22nd, I checked the almanac. We're not going to be that pedantic, okay? But